Great, thank you, and great to be here. Looking forward to really talking about the impact of AI on supply chain and procurement, and hopefully come up with some sort of practical examples of what we're trying to do in this area as part of the digital catapult and the work we're doing in the digital supply chain hub. But before I start on the talk, I'm going to just give you a little bit of an introduction to Digital Catapult, because some of you may not know about the catapults and what we actually do. So the Digital Catapult is an Innovate UK-funded, government-funded, industry-funded innovation organisation where we're all about accelerating the digitisation of the UK economy by applying advanced digital technologies. It's all about helping businesses to really understand what tech is doing and how industry can really adopt that technology and develop it as it moves forward. What are the areas we focus on? Well, we focus on 5 different digital technologies in the advanced space. Firstly, future networks and IoT. AI, which we're going to talk about in a bit more detail now, distributed ledger technologies, and immersive technologies. And we're also starting to do more and more in the area of quantum. And we apply those through 3 different lenses, which we call application layers. The first of those is virtual environments. The second is supply chains. And the third is digital infrastructure. Now, as part of what we're doing, we're running a program, which is a 25 million program to look at digital supply chains in particular and how technology can be used to transform those. And hopefully this video will give you a little bit of a flavour of what we're doing.
We're here to develop and empower a globally competitive digital innovation ecosystem, working together to address and prepare for the critical supply chain challenges facing UK manufacturing. Join in.
So what does that mean we're actually doing? Well, what we're really doing is we're focusing on our vision, which is to really transform manufacturing through digitally empowered supply chains to make them more efficient, resilient, and sustainable. We're doing that through building an ecosystem of organizations, both tech startup organizations, larger technology organizations, industry, academia, coming together to further innovate and develop solutions for digital transformation in supply chains. We're really trying to improve the whole information flow across end-to-end supply chains, so that because information doesn't flow, then we find that money is wasted and the physical goods don't travel, and the whole supply chain becomes totally inefficient. And businesses, consumers, and the environment suffer. And how are we doing that? Well, we're actually doing 3 key things as part of this for UK. First of all, we're building digital innovation solutions. So we're doing some of those ourselves. We're working with tech startup organizations, and we're working with industry sponsors and owners to really test, trial, and build out innovations in new areas such as Scope 3 emissions, supply chain resilience, supply chain mapping, all of the things that are challenged by industry. The second thing we're doing is that we are building out a series of test beds, supply chain test beds, where we're really going to test these solutions in 4 different areas: automotive spares, circular textiles, food, and hydrogen, which is one of the emerging supply chains. And finally, we're developing a virtual hub platform which enables companies to look at things they can use, tools, capabilities, content, knowledge, to adopt digital supply chains. and adopt some of these technologies and take them on board. So if you're interested in digitization, then I'd recommend coming and having a look at what we're doing. This just summarizes in terms of what the hub is doing and how we're building it out. It's a community, a portfolio of innovations, a network of labs and test beds, and a platform of continuous collaboration. And obviously we're funding this, and there's money available for industry and tech startups to get involved. So now, how about AI? Well, we all know that supply chains are in uncertain times. They're being disrupted by a number of global challenges and things that are going on. So how can AI, as a key innovation capability, address some of these challenges? I'm now going to pass over to Hassan, who's our AI expert in DC, to really talk a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Tim. All right, thanks everybody. Thanks for coming. So what I'll do is I'll begin by looking at what exactly AI is. So it's surprisingly difficult to pin down the definition of AI, but one definition that I think gets to the heart of it, captures the essence of it, is the following: is that AI is technology that is intended to substitute for or augment human decision making, or at least some parts of it. And so these days, when people hear AI, they probably think something like generative AI. And generative AI is like things like ChatGPT and DALL-E that can generate text or generate images based on prompts. But that's actually a tip of a really, really big and powerful iceberg. So AI has been around since the 1950s, and it has taken lots of different guises and lots of different capabilities, and provided lots of different capabilities, everything from reasoning about knowledge to analyzing tabular data, analyzing really complex data like audio and images, and deriving insights from those, making forecasts and predictions, and so on. And so AI forms critical part of lots of different applications that you use every day. Everything from the software that powers, that sort of schedules your airplanes and trains, to software that powers search engines, e-commerce websites, to facial recognition system, all make very critical and substantial use of AI. So it's all around us. So that's the main point here. And in the context of supply chains, it's actually used in many different ways. So one of the most common ways it's used is to forecast risk and demand. It's also used for optimization and for supporting decision making at a node level. So it's meant to support the operations of a specific, like a supplier or a manufacturer or a retailer in the context of a supply chain. But it can also be used for many other really powerful applications, such as end-to-end risk prediction, end-to-end logistics. Pardon me. It can also be used for something called supply chain mapping. So I think this might be relatively new. So what supply chain mapping is, it's about trying to understand what the different participants in your supply chain are, and then understanding what the flow of goods is between all the different participants. So what that helps you do is actually help make your supply chain much more robust and resilient, which is really important, like Tim was saying. Yeah. And also you can go to the next level where you actually focus on supply chain data sharing and supply chain collaboration. So what that means is that now, instead of just understanding what the flow of goods is, you actually understand the flow of information and exchange information between the different participants. And that takes you to the next level. And in fact, all the last four applications that I mentioned, end-to-end logistics, risk prediction, risk analysis, and supply chain mapping, all that sort of is supported by the supply chain data sharing and collaboration. Yeah, so today, I think the most commonly AI is used to support the operation of a single node. So they're used for predicting risk and predicting predicting demand and other things like that, and also for things like optimizing logistics and supporting decision making and so on. So where we believe you can unlock a lot of value in the future is by actually using AI to enable the flow of information across the entire supply chain, and that's where a lot of value lies. But at the same time, there are some really tricky barriers to getting this done. So things like there are technical challenges to actually getting these applications working, But even more crucial is the business challenge, because when you have different people sort of working together, you need to figure out what the right business models are, what the right models of collaboration are, so that you're able to share the benefits and risks in a fair and equitable way. And this is where Digital Catapult sort of really comes into play. So we are a neutral organization, and we have deep business and technical expertise, and we can actually get people together and get the ball rolling and put the right mechanisms in place. So one of the projects that we're working on in the Digital Supply Chain Hub that Tim mentioned is trying to address this problem of interoperability in the supply chain. So what this problem means is that in the supply chain, you have different nodes, and each of these nodes use different software systems with different data models. And ideally, what you'd like to be able to do is get this software systems to talk to each other. But because they use different data models, that is really challenging. So most of the time, the way it happens is it's a really manual process. So you take the information from one software, you convert it into a PDF, and then send the PDF over, and then sort of convert it back. And obviously, this is a really, really slow process. It's really costly, and you only get a fraction of the information that you actually want from this process. So it's a really sort of highly inefficient and undesirable process. And additionally, it sort of has really important knock-on effects, which is that it really makes it difficult to make the right decision at the right time. And often you end up making the wrong decision, which you then have to reverse. So it sort of doubles, triples the cost. So it's a fairly important challenge. And so what we're doing within the Digital Supply Chain Hub is we have this project running called, so there's a lot of stuff in there, so I'm going to sort of talk about that, ignore the slides. So what we're doing in the Digital Supply Chain Hub is we're running this project called the Interoperability Flagship. And so what this is we're working with industry partners to do two different things. One thing we're doing is we're building an AI and machine learning powered solution to convert between different data models. That is, we're trying to build an engine that solves the interoperability challenge. The other thing that we're also doing is we're building a business model and models of collaboration that would incentivize people, or rather the industry, to adopt the same interoperability platform. So the idea is that we can take the engine that we're building, and we can take the business model that we're developing, and then down the line, combine them into interoperability platform that will be adopted by industry. So the trick here is that this is a C-R&D project. So we are actually free to R&D projects, like a collaborative R&D project, industrial R&D project. So we're actually free to try out different ideas, work with our partners, and understand exactly what needs to be done to make sure that this actually works in practice. So I'll just really quickly go through how the solution actually works. Our proposed solution. So here we have like 6 different nodes that want to sort of exchange information. And all these different nodes, they have different data models. And so it's really difficult for them to sort of talk to each other directly. So what we do is we put in AI and machine learning powered encoders and decoders that are sort of proxies for them. And these proxies translate the data model that they have into a common language in the form of an adaptive ontology. And by using this adaptive ontology and AI/ML powered encoders and decoder, we're actually able to enable interoperability. So the whole idea is that this will form the core engine of a future interoperability platform. And we can combine that with the business model to go all the way. Okay. I'll hand over to Tim now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is sort of trying to address one of the key challenges around collaboration, which has come up a lot through this whole day. So how can you share data more effectively? I'm going to talk about a couple of other examples that we're working on, and these are within the hub, working with technology startup organizations and industry. The first of those is something we're doing on intelligent supply and demand sensing. So I think you may have heard quite a bit around demand sensing over the last few years as a capability. But one of the things we are really trying to develop further is how can you get this supply and demand balance right by also looking at the supply side risks and sensing those risks more actively so that you can get a better balance between this demand, so better information from the consumer and the customer, and the supply side, and match that more effectively together. So we're working with a company called Singular Intelligence. They're a tech startup company. We're working in the food supply chain here with Cranswick. And basically, what they've managed to do is by getting better data from consumers and downstream, better data from right up to the farm and to the first tier and second tier supply chains, be able to work through an AI engine and machine learning to really develop a much more accurate means of matching these two things together. Yeah, we talk a lot about supply and demand, but often they're not always in sync. So far, through this, they've managed to reduce food waste by about 30%, and make a big impact on inventory through the supply chain. And they're looking to sort of see how they can expand and roll this out. So it's a really good example of using AI to address one of the key challenges around supply and demand. The last one I just wanted to talk about is the age-old problem of supply chain visibility. So how do I find out who is in my supply chain? Yeah? And there's lots of manual methods of looking at supply chain visibility by asking your suppliers and then your supplier asking their supplier, etc. But we wanted to look at whether this could be automated, yeah? Whether it could be done using AI and natural language processing. So we've been working with another startup from out of Cambridge University called Versed AI, who are mapping supply chains at bill of material level. So not at the higher level, supplier to supplier, but looking at an individual bill of material and saying, what's in that bill of material? What component am I buying? And then consequently, who's the supplier of that component? And then using AI and large data models that are available to really work out who the supplier is right the way back up the tiers of the supply chain. Yeah? We've been doing this with BAE Systems and looking at some of their manufacturing equipment, such as Cougar robots, and really being able to do this, and with some good results. So another great example of how AI is sort of transforming what we're doing in supply chains. So, I think this is all great, but what about the future of AI? There's a lot of big questions about AI and its how it's being used, and is it being used in the right way? Our vision is that, an end-to-end digital twin supply chain will be coming. Yeah, it's not too far away, and AI as a key element of that in terms of managing the exchange of information, the risk, the mitigation associated with that. The tools are pretty much there. Some of the things that are challenged with it is exactly how to make it work. And we think there's two key things that need to be addressed. Firstly, as we talked a lot about earlier, one is the business challenge. So how do we overcome the issues around data sharing, collaboration, around the culture and inertia and ways of working to address these things? And the second is really the technology challenge, particularly with AI, and using AI in the right way, in a transparent, open approach, in an ethical way, is going to be really critical, because there's a lot of things that AI is doing these days which aren't necessarily so positive in that respect. And a lot of that then requires really, firstly, neutral third parties like ourselves and others to support some of this, to keep it open and very easy to understand and to get to the bottom of. It also requires strong leadership from you and others in your organizations to really see the vision, what is needed and what is required, but to do it in the right way, not to do it in a way that means that supply chains are only optimized for one party, or only the algorithms are maybe shared or used in the right way to make things better for everybody. So I think that summarizes how we see the picture. Please come and look at our hub. Yeah, the QR code there gets you to the Digital Supply Chain Hub UK, and we're launching our virtual hub later in the year. If you want to get involved in the sorts of projects we're running, then please get in contact. We really are trying to accelerate the adoption of digital across UK industry. and we're here to help. Yeah, we're not trying to do it for any particular reason other than to make the whole of the UK manufacturing a better place to be in relation to some of this stuff. So thanks very much.
Thank you.